Today we will be talking about Nancy Meyer's movies, and one particular movie of her, It's Complicated. You know how most of the directors have their unique style of movie making. In romantic comedies, Nancy Meyer has developed her own style in script and in direction. She has given us many good movies such as What Women Want, The Holiday, The Intern, Something's Gotta Give, The Parent Trap, and of course, It's Complicated. Maybe one day we will do all of her movies on this channel. It's Complicated is Nancy Meyer's highly successful film released in 2009. It features Meryl Streep, Alec Baldwin, and Steve Martin in lead roles. It's a light-hearted romantic comedy that caters to slightly older age range of audience. In this video, you will see what's so appealing about It's Complicated. The movie starts with a garden party where Jane, played by Meryl Streep, is talking to her friends. We get to know that Jake, played by Alec Baldwin, is her ex-husband, who has married a much younger woman, Agnes. Jake and Jane have been divorced for 10 years. They are talking about their son Luke's graduation the upcoming week. They are meeting for Luke's graduation in New York and staying in the same hotel. Next we see Jane's youngest daughter, Gabby, is leaving for college. Her elder daughter Lauren and her fiancé Hartley have come to see her off. They all leave and Jane is left all alone in her cottage-like house. Jane owns a bakery and now she is busy dealing with customers when she sees Adam, played by Steve Martin. He is an architect working for a company hired by Jane for renovation of her house. Adam has prepared house plans as per her wishes, and she is so happy that finally her dream project is coming through. They fix another appointment at her house. Jane goes to see a plastic surgeon. The doctor advises her to do a brow lift procedure which is very painful and it scares her right off. Surprisingly, she meets Jake and his current family in the elevator. Jake tries to hide it from her, but she sees that they have come there to visit the fertility clinic in the same building. We see her talking about it with her friends over dinner. They talk about how her husband cheated on her with Agnes, who is also a lunatic. In the end, they all suggest to her that she should date someone as she has been alone for so long. Jane and her children meet each other again in New York for Luke's graduation ceremony. At the last moment, they ditch her to go to his party with his friends. Once again, she is left all alone in her hotel suite. When she comes down to have dinner that night, she finds her ex-husband sitting alone at the bar because his wife Agnes couldn't make it. Eventually, they get to talking, drinking, and dancing together. Old memories resurface, and in the heat of the moment, they slip together. But in the morning, Jane regrets doing it, whereas Jake seems satisfied and happy. He says he feels he is home again. Even in Luke's graduation, Jake is looking at Jane the whole time. During the family lunch, the kids point out that it's nice to be a complete family after years. Back at home, Adam comes to meet Jane for her appointment. He's listening to self-help books about forgiving your ex. His wife too had cheated on him with his best friend, and now he is going through a rough divorce. Jane meets him on the road and they drive her home together. She consoles him that he will feel normal after 2 more years. They are now working on the blueprints when Jake comes there. After Adam leaves, Jake and Jane talk about what they did in New York. She is feeling guilty, but Jake convinces her of having an affair with him. Next, she meets Adam for her construction appointment. He shows how her future house will be, and she is so amazed and happy. However, Jake calls in between, but she doesn't pick up the call. Adam and Jane make it till dinner. She cooks for him and they both talk about divorce and dating. They both enjoy each other's company. However, Jake sneaks off from his house and comes to meet her. He tells her that everything in his life is going right since they have been doing. They just talk while Jane takes a bath. Jake confesses to her that his marriage with Agnes is not going well. She wants to have more kids and him to contribute more. Meanwhile, he wants to wind down and cut back from work. He wishes that he and Jane could grow old together. He also leaves a joint at her house for her. The next day, Jane goes to see her therapist because she could not sleep with all the guilt she is piling up about her affair. She rambles off about the questions in her mind, but he advises her to go and see it for herself and that she is capable to handle it. Jake is in the fertility clinic ready for his appointment when Jane calls him and asks him to meet her in a hotel for lunch. When they get there, Lauren and Harley are meeting their wedding planner there. Harley sees both of them going inside the elevator together, but he hides it from Lauren. In the hotel room, before Jane and Jake do anything, Jake suffers a stroke. Then a doctor is called and it is revealed that Jake is taking a medicine which helps him in his fertility test. Misunderstood, doctor advises Jane not to pressurize Jake for intercourse. Adam calls Jane to ask if she would like to go to a French film festival with him. However, on Jake's insistence, Jane lies to him, saying she is busy. Jake promises her that he will come the next night to her house for a dinner and it will be a date. So then Jane cooks his favorite dinner, including chocolate cake. She even puts on a new dress. Jake, on the other hand, could not make it because Agnes stays home that night and he couldn't sneak off. Disappointed and sad, Jane remained all alone in her home that night. The next day, all of her 3 children come home. Lauren tells Jane she and her fiancé met their wedding planner at a hotel. Jane realizes it was the same hotel where she met Jake. Later, Jake comes with Luke to their house and situation gets awkward. Jane tells him that she is bringing a date for Luke's party that weekend. It is Adam, her architect. Jake tells her not to make a big deal just because he doesn't show up one time. Jane tells him that she doesn't want to be his mistress. Seeing everybody having dinner without him as a family, Jake leaves torn and sad. Jen is getting ready for her son's party at Lauren's house. She sees the joint left by Jake and she's already under influence when Adam shows up to take her to the party. Then they both smoke it before going inside the house. Inside they meet her children and Jake watches from afar, jealous. Jen and Adam are having very fun time at the party when Jake calls her aside. They again have a conversation about Jane being possessive, but Jane is too stoned to care. After that, Jake and Jane dance together and their kids are amazed seeing them together. When she starts to dance with Adam, Jake feels rejected. However, his current wife Agnes watches him from afar. She realizes that he still has feelings for his ex-wife. Later in the car, Adam confesses that he likes her and she tells him that she likes him a lot. When she asks whether she is too old for him, he says he likes her age the most. They go to her bakery in the middle of the night and she offers to cook anything for him. Then they make chocolate croissant together. Adam asks her if she is seeing someone and he doesn't want to be with someone who is not available because he says he wouldn't handle it again. Jane, however, reassures him and they kiss. The next morning, Jane finds all her children have come home and Jake too. He claims that he has left Agnes because he loves Jane. Then he starts crying. She is hesitant, but her children pressurize her to let him stay with them in her house. She scolds him for dropping onto her so suddenly and that they both are finished. However, he still insists that she is acting like this because she is mad about the time he stood her up. That night, they all have a movie night like the old times and Jake seems happy. Later, they all gather in the kitchen except Jane and talks about how weird it is to see Jake with them. They don't even remember their parents being together anymore. In her room, Jane is on video call with Adam chatting with him. However, when they take a break, Jake comes there. In his haste, he doesn't notice the live webcam and then strips naked and lies on Jane's bed. When Adams and Jane return from washroom, they get a big shock by Jake's nudity. Hearing her screams, her children come in and Jake has to explain what he was doing there. He tells them that they are seeing each other since New York. He confesses that he left Agnes because he fell back in love with Jane and maybe he never stopped loving her. But when her children ask her if they are back together, Jane denies it. Confused and disoriented, everybody leaves the house that night and Jane sleeps outside, crying and depressed. In the morning, she goes to Lauren and Harley's house where her children are staying. She explains that she misled them for so long. She says that she always felt that Jake and her have something unfinished between them, but doing this affair was hard for her and she is glad that they are not going back ever. Jen then goes to Adam's office. She tries to explain what happened with Jake, but Adam stops her. He states that even though Jane says she's done with her ex-husband, Jake is still in love with her, that she should probably resolve that first. In the end, she hopes that Adam doesn't stop working on her project because of this. When Jane returns home, she finds Jake already sitting outside her house. Jake is sorry for not being the husband she needed, or cheating on her and then barging in her room naked that night. She says that the affair never felt right for her, but Jake is glad they gave it a shot again. Jen says though she doesn't regret having an affair with him, but they are not good for each other in the first place, that they can't make it work ever. In the ending scene, we see it's raining heavily and the construction crew is having a meeting outside her house. Uncertain, she goes near, but she is relieved to find Adam there. He says it's good luck to start building in the rain, and she says she could use some luck. She requests everyone to hold their meeting inside her house. When they are going inside, Adam inquires about the chocolate croissant, saying that he has incredibly fond memories of them, and the movie ends on a hopeful note. All the actors in this movie played their parts. Alec Baldwin has played an immature and impatient ex-husband Jake. Steve Martin has brought out the calmness and gentleness of a mature person. And Meryl Streep has undoubtedly done justice to Jane Adler, who is battling the emptiness syndrome in her 50s. Nobody can do justice to the role. She brought out the bubbly, eager as well as guilty ex-wife having an affair with her ex. John Krasinski played Harley. He is an excellent actor, sometimes taking all the footage even in the presence of such big actors. It's Complicated is a hilarious romantic comedy. Although romantic comedies have garnered a bad reputation for improbable plots and too many fantasy elements, sometimes even magic, they are feel-good movies. Nancy Meyer's It's Complicated gives us good actors in a beautiful and a funny situation. Beautiful location is her specialty. For example, Jane's cottage-like house and its dreamy lifestyle magazine-worthy interior. Too much laughter, passable dialogues makes the movie somewhat slow. However, the point of the movie is not to resemble reality. It is to give us hope. Jane has an affair with her married ex-husband because she feels there is something unfinished between them. It is very common for two people to think like that after ending a relationship. Although it's wrong on so many levels and she is guilty throughout it, it gives her closure about her past life. Now she can be done and dusted about it. At the end, we are all looking for hope, and Jane gets it in the end with a new man. The movie is worth rewatching, especially when you are feeling down or it's raining. And I can rewatch it just for Meryl Streep.